All right, welcome into our second episode of the Patriots Training Camp cast for 2024. Evan Lazar, Perillo, Mike Dussault just got off the field for the second practice, and guys, not as much fireworks today. There weren't any big plays, not a lot, not a lot to really hang your hat on today, especially get excited about on the offensive side of the ball. A little bit of a blah practice, I would call it, maybe.
Yeah, I'm trying not to overreact to these initial practices. They're not in pads, really not even in shells or in helmets and t-shirts and shorts right now, so you don't want to sound any alarms about the offense, but some of the things that we were concerned about coming into the season on paper are showing up a little bit in this practice today, where there isn't a ton going on down the field, and a lot of the downfield throws are contested. Jalen Polk down the sideline with Marcus Jones all over him, or Hunter Henry, Jabril Peppers broke up a pass for him, similar type of route down the sideline. And those types of plays are just not hitting at a high rate right now, and it's a lot of contested 50-50 type balls, and you just would have liked to have seen a little bit more of what we saw from Jalen Reagor yesterday, which was just running wide open behind the defense. But it's a good defense, and you're not necessarily going to see that all the time against the Patriots starters. But overall, a clunky day for the offense, but I don't think it's anything that we didn't already know about where they're at.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree overall. There weren't a lot of flash plays, and the ones that the few that did happen were on the defensive side of the ball, and the ones that Evan mentioned were the ones that stood out to me. I do think there was some indications, at least, that there were some other guys getting involved. Tyquan Thornton, I didn't really notice at all on opening day. He caught a handful of passes today from both Jacoby Brissett and Drake Maye. We should probably add that Brissett, again, took the lead reps, and then Drake Maye followed. Little slight twist after that. Joe Milton went before Bailey Zappi. All four took reps, but I thought it was interesting that Milton went third and Zappi fourth today. But I would agree with Ev's overall assessment. More of a defensive day today.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, yesterday we saw Joe Milton get a little, not a lot of action, but got some mop-up reps almost. Completed a couple passes, thrown in time, looked okay. It seemed almost like, hey, let's give him a little bit more of a shot today. I want to talk, too, though, about Jacoby Brissett, because while it wasn't outstanding, I think we all agree that there were some moments where Jacoby Brissett just looked like he was running the offense the way it needed to be run. Hitting the back foot, getting the ball out. That's why he's here, right? So he can run the offense on time.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it that his timing and just approach to the offense in general, he's a pro. I mean, he's made 48 starts in the NFL, so it's going to be a little bit better in those regards to Drake Maye, and that might be enough, at least initially, for him to hold on to the starting job going into the season. But the one thing that I consistently feel with Jacoby Brissett is that there's just not a whole lot of playmaking or dynamic element down the field from him, whereas with Drake Maye, even though it might be not as perfect in terms of the timing and all that, which I'm sure the coaches probably see even more than we do, you have that threat of, on any given drop back, you could have a 50-yard bomb in there somewhere. I don't necessarily feel that way with Jacoby Brissett, but as Paul likes to say, there was a couple plays there today where it looked like a play in a game. Three-step drop, balls out, hit the back of the foot, everybody runs their routes properly, and we have a play, right? And that happens maybe a little bit more.
I'm a simple man.
with Jacoby Brissett at this point. No, I totally understand what you're saying, though. It looks like it happened on a Sunday, and we had a few of those today.
Yeah, and a couple of bookkeeping things. Antonio Gibson looks like he was taking off of NFI, and Gerard Mayo said yesterday that it wouldn't be a long-term thing, expected him back. He didn't have his helmet with him. He didn't really take part in the practice, but he was in uniform out there, did some lower rehab field work. So he's obviously back on the field and closer to getting back full strength. That's a good sign. On the flip side, Devon Godchaw, we didn't see him for about the first hour of practice at all. He came out later, no helmet, didn't really do a whole lot. Now there's a report, I think Mass Live tweeted out that Christian Barmore might be dealing with an illness, and he was limited. He didn't really do much in the full 11-on-11 work, but I don't know, maybe Godchaw's dealing with something along those lines too, or maybe it's just an indication of the contract stuff that rearing its ugly head.
Yeah, we did hear from Judon yesterday, who kind of expressed, he'd like a new deal. Clearly looks like it's heading down that road with Godchaw. Maybe he's going to do what Judon did last year, the hold in. It's the new in vogue thing to do.
Yep.
My biggest question, guys, is just how does this all resolve itself? We don't want this hanging over the team's head as we go into the season, especially Paul with Judon, who, he's a valuable player. He is going to be 32 in a few weeks, but he's got some juice, and he's the pass rusher that they need off the edge.
Yeah, and I do think it's important, because this is a new regime. You want to get off to a good start and really at least put your best foot forward. Have the best personnel that you can out there. So I wouldn't advocate trading him now. Like if you were going to deal him, I would have said, get it done, earlier in the offseason where you had a chance to sort of make a plan to replace him. Now I would go into the season. Maybe, if he's playing well, he's sort of a leader on that front seven, and you can get going that way. And if you're not having the success as a team that you hope, then maybe you can revisit any kind of trade possibilities. You mentioned he spoke yesterday. He said, he's not asking for a trade. He doesn't want to be traded, but the contract is definitely an issue.
Evan, I just want to highlight a couple guys, that stood out a little bit today. Starting with Jaheim Bell, rookie, 7th-round pick, guy that I know you were high on, had him on your big board. But we saw him start to get a little bit involved today. Paul mentioned Marcus Jones earlier, kind of active as in the slot, a guy that we kind of an unknown commodity. We know he's a returner, has been injured. We haven't seen a lot of him. And also Tyquan Thornton, who we mentioned, just a little bit more active. What did you see from those few guys?
Yeah, just starting with Marcus Jones, 2 days in a row now where he's been the top slot corner, nickel corner with the Patriots defense. And for right now, on paper, it would seem like he would be the inside track or have the inside track to being that top nickel corner. And when they go three true corners, not talking about big nickel or getting the safeties involved and stuff like that, he's definitely the guy in man coverage I feel the most confident about inside, other than obviously John Jones, but you think he can play more on the outside still. So I've been encouraged what I've seen from Marcus Jones. Got a couple hands on a couple passes over the last few days as well, so he's had good coverage. We'll see if he can keep it up. And to your point about Tyquan Thornton, it's just, do we quit it or do we not? You just, every day he pulls you back in. He has one of these types of days now. It was a lot of underneath stuff. It wasn't anything down the field. We're not, that 4.28 was not on full display necessarily, but he did lead the team with 4 catches in team drills here today. So there's certainly something that Tyquan Thornton every couple days will have one of these types of practices that make you believe again. I'm not sure I'm totally there, but we're getting there then just quickly. But Jaheim Bell, what stood out to me with him was how much they were moving him around. And that was something that he did a lot in college. And if he can learn the playbook to a point where he's able to run routes from various alignments, then that will help him get on the roster.
Yeah. Paul, anybody else that caught your eye today, just in terms of, I know there are not a lot of big plays, but.
No, there weren't. And, I'm sort of watching that secondary to see the different, combinations. And what I've seen most, and if you guys have seen different, correct me, I've seen Gonzalez and Jones with Marcus Jones in the slot, in some of Alex Austin, but not as much as we saw in the spring. So I wonder if, it's Jonathan Jones and it's Christian Gonzalez, and then everybody else is
the Marco
sort of
Wilsons
fighting.
of the world.
Yeah, I thought there was a chance that maybe with the amount that we saw Austin in the spring, that they maybe had designs of him being on the outside and Jonathan Jones being in the slot. So far, only 2 days, I haven't really seen that.
Yeah. All right. Well, only 2 days, but hey, we got, 11 more practices to go.
Yeah.
We're just getting started here. There's obviously
train's moving, Deuce.
Yeah, the train's moving, and we're expecting pads to be Monday. So we're going to have practices on Friday, practices on Sunday, and then we'll get to hopefully ramp things up a little bit, guys. A little contact.
On Monday.
The smack of the pads, the smack of the helmets. So be sure to stick on Patriots.com. We got you covered all through training camp.